Hey, good morning. I am Rob. I am that developer dad, and we're getting closer and closer to finishing up the website. Yesterday morning, we got the uh, the tutorial for the AstroJS Build-A-Blog thing. We reached the end of the content that walks us through all of the use cases that I want to implement here. Except for images, I'm going to need to bring those in at some point, but I just haven't got the time or energy to focus on those things just yet. Um, but yesterday afternoon, we started working through a bunch of our GitHub issues that I had created. Let me open a new Safari window and we'll go to GitHub real quick. And then I'll share my screen. Just one moment, please. Stream transition. You can see Visual Studio Code running in the background. Let's bring up the issues and pull this over here. So yesterday in the afternoon, we made some pretty good headway on we got the page headers. They're now looking a whole lot better on mobile. We've got our markdown article layout changes. Let's pop in here. Excuse me. So we're only showing the title of the post now. We've experimented with tightening up the vertical real estate so that the metadata about the article doesn't interfere with people's ability to get right into it. Published on and written by. We thought we wanted to put those on a single line, but we got there and it didn't look great. So we did something a little different with that. And then moving the topics list in the individual article display, we squished those all the way down to the bottom. And I have Safari open. It's currently pointed at localhost, and localhost isn't running right yet. So we'll do that in just a second. Open the Finder, go to the code, right click, we'll open a new terminal. VS Code's already running, so we don't have to execute that this morning. We will just do npm run dev, and off we go. We can pop up here and hit refresh, and there we go. We are good. So, and yes, I'm having some breakfast, so please bear with me. I'll try to keep that to a minimum. Let's take a look at the other issues we want to address this morning. I did some homework last night, like I said I would. And let's start with the article page adjustments. Let's take a look at the article page. I'm going to pull this over here. We'll go to our articles page. And I'm just going to layer these windows so that you can see the issue description and the page so that we've got some context. We want to get rid of the bullet glyph on the component. So this is an unordered list in the background, and I don't like those bullet points. I want to get rid of those on this page. We want to make the title link a little bit bigger, but not by much. We want to add the publication date to the title line. And we want to try and sort the list of articles by publication date in reverse chronology. That one's going to require some JavaScript, and I am afraid of JavaScript, and I suck at JavaScript. We might not do that. I might pick that up at a later date, offline, out of stream, and get that sorted out. But I don't want to make you guys watch me struggle with JavaScript needlessly. And 9 of 12 is in the chat. Hello, 9 of 12. I am in other Twitch streams. I do have another persona, DM_Rob, but I've toyed with the idea of changing that to I am husband of 9, but that would be inaccurate. I have precisely one wife, and she is more than enough. We also want to add some horizontal rules to break up the space here, or perhaps we can do that with alternating the item background colors for each article. So I guess this morning we're going to focus on this, and if we get through this whole thing, we'll pick another issue to address. So let's get started. I did do some homework last night, and I did some research on how to accomplish what I want to accomplish here. So let's start by getting rid of these bullet points. And for that, I went to W3 Schools. Here's our try it editor. That's not the one I want. I think this is the one I want. Yeah. And we set, and it says here on the unordered list tag style, we want to set the list style type to none. So I'm going to pull this off to my secondary screen. And this is on the articles page. So we'll start there. Pages, articles. Here we go. And, oh, yep, a list of articles I've written will live here eventually. Let's get rid of that. Goodbye. And let's change that to, nope, we don't need to add any verbiage there. Articles, table of contents. Let's see if that did horrible things to the display here. No, that's not bad. I might rip that table of contents out later if it starts to bug me, but for now, let's leave it alone. So we want to change the display on this list. And to do that, we came into the articles page, and there's not really much here. We see that that whole list is driven by that article TOC component. So we'll come in here. Excuse me. And that's called article TOC. I don't see article TOC. Nope, don't want VS Code. Components. Here's article TOC. Sometimes VS Code gets a little bit silly. All right, so we've got UL, all posts. We've got no real styling here. We might need to go in and alter this blog post component, but let's get started with the getting rid of that bullet point thing. And let's bring live coding tabs back up. And I'm going to split screen here. And I'll just pull this guy over. Nope. Don't need that. I need this. Come on, give me my grabber. Here we go. And let's just hide the navigator for the time being. So the first thing we're going to do is, because we're just going to pop in Oh, somebody just did a thing and startled me. Hey, TV's Travis just followed me. He's a good egg. I like him. Hey, Travis, how's it going, man? So that part is not going to make a whole lot of sense to people watching the archive videos, but too bad. I put these up raw and unedited. So before we start messing around with altering global styles and so on and so forth and all that stuff, I'm just going to, because we're experimenting and trying to get the styling right on these things, we're going to do everything right inside a style tag. So style equals, come over here, and we want list style type colon none. Save it. Okay, bullet points are gone. Now, the next thing we need to do is use I think it's a meta style or a conditional type thing, and it's going to be a real pain in the neck to apply it to both. I'll pull the gist over here, and to get the alternating row or the alternating item backgrounds different, we have to do what is called a composite style directive with this :nth child. And CSS has all of these this, that stuff that allows you to conditionally apply whatever's in the curly braces based on some condition that exists on the HTML element or class or what have you. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that in line. So let's do this. Travis, we are coding my homepage for www.thatdeveloperdad.com. It's a thing I've decided to do while I'm in between jobs, and I do intend to carry on after I'm working full time again. So, and what I want to do is kind of share a bunch of the stuff that I've learned over the years, and one of them is not web development. I've lived behind the API and the .NET space for probably the past 10 plus years, and I've gotten really, really bad at programming modern browser stuff. And I figured, you know what? There's a lot of people that are trying to learn software, and a lot of people that are really nervous or intimidated by it, and is like, oh my gosh, what if I make a mistake? And I realized I'm going to make a ton of mistakes, and I'm going to learn from those mistakes and all of that stuff. And I figured that doing this live would maybe help somebody go, oh gosh, this guy's been making software for decades and he still screws up just like I do. I can relax. So that's why I decided, let's just go and build the That Developer Dad website live, stream it, save all the stream episodes, all that stuff, and maybe somebody somewhere will get some value out of it. And 9 to 12 just asked in the chat, after the website, what's next? I'm going to be pivoting back to my comfort zone and doing C# and .NET development. I've got some ideas of some software that would make my life easier, both as a developer and architect and as a content creator, and also as a game writer for my homebrew D&D world. My players are constantly asking me for details about shopkeepers and bartenders and just common folks that they meet in the villages and the places that they visit. And I don't think fast enough to just improv that off the top of my head. So I want to build a little piece of software that helps me generate those non-player characters on the fly as I need them. so that I've got at least an idea to work from when I'm running a game session. So that I'm probably going to start that Monday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a notepad document, and I'm going to say, this is the idea. And then I'm going to list out the requirements. And then I'm going to go through the actual architecture activity where I design the code and how it's going to be laid out within the C# project. Then finally, we're going to start writing it. It's going to be a multi-session project, very much like building the website. But I think showing the process is going to be some pretty valuable content. All right, let's get back to this. I don't want to be doing inline styles here because anywhere that I want to do this, I'm going to have to make the same change to all of the places, and hunting through all of the HTML code is going to become a drag really, really fast. So we're going to lift that style up to the scope of this page and just kind of collect all of our CSS styling information for the article table of contents page in one part of the page code. So we'll start with this. Grab this, cut it from there, paste it in here. Get rid of that style attribute on the tag. And good, that worked. The next thing we're going to do is, we're going to apply that compound style. So unordered list, list item, nth child, and we want to color the odd numbered list items. So that tells the HTML renderer in the browser on this page for this page only, when you have an unordered list, look at the list items, and every odd numbered list item in our unordered list, we want to style a little bit differently from the even numbered ones. And all I want to do here is knock the background color to a really light gray just to break things up visually and make it a little bit easier to read. So let's go with background color. And I tried light gray last night. Like, we could use all these named colors, but meh. You know what? Let's go ahead and use blanched almond. We'll save it. And it didn't do anything for me. Peculiar. Oh yeah, the karaoke queue tool is another one. 9 of 12 reminded me in the chat again that we have this, or she's part of this huge community, and I guess I've become part of it now too, the Frog Pants Network. And through that, or every year we go out to Vegas, a bunch of us gather out there and just have this big fun meetup out in Vegas. And one of the things that we've done the past couple of years is all get together and go do karaoke. And that's a ton of fun, but managing the queue and making sure people get, that the order of people getting up to sing is fair, and that, new people get in sooner so that people that have signed up for 5 or 6 songs aren't just singing them back to back to back. It's sort of I developed a fairness algorithm a couple of years ago for it, and I need to remember how I did it. But building that little utility that I could share with people on the same Wi-Fi network so that they can just put their name and the song they want to sing into the queue, and then have the queue sort out the most fair order for people to go in based on who's already gone, who's gone how many times, that kind of thing. That feels like a really useful tool for when we're hosting karaoke events. Back to this. This is not working. And I think I understand why. Because this is manifesting as a blog post, not necessarily a list item. So let's look over here and see what the code for blog post looks like. So we've got the LIs in here. And I think in order for this stuff to work, we need to elevate our styles that we're defining over here. We got to move these guys up to the global scope so that they'll apply throughout the website. But I don't want them to apply to every list. So what do we do? And I'm trying to remember what the trick is. I don't know if we want to necessarily use a class. I wonder if we can here's global CSS. Let's pull you over here. We don't need the markdown article layout. Let's try. Now I've got my custom classes up here. Let's try this. We've defined our article TOC as sort of a custom tag. So our first experiment is going to be article TOC. And let's just say background color blue, just to see if it works. And it did not. That's okay. So we'll define it as a class, article list. And I think we do it like so. UL article list. Come over here. Grab this guy. Paste it in here. UL class equals article list. And a CSS expert is probably going to tell me I'm doing this all wrong. And if I get any CSS experts watching the archived video of this over on YouTube after it's up at some point in the future, if you want to tell me the right way to do this, I won't cry at all. And then we need to go UL li. Do I go dot article list UL li nth dash child odd. Grab this, steal my background color. Oh, of course this isn't going to work, and I'll explain why in a minute. I don't know if this will work. Save that, and it didn't do anything for us. That's okay. That's okay. let's knock this to blue. Come on. We'll make it purple just for now so that it's very, very obvious when it starts working. And 9 of 12 says in the chat, she's here to distract and help me learn how to filter the chats. And that's funny and valuable. And I have no idea what that means. You can give me notes and instruction later. So that ain't gonna work. Blog post URL. Let's take a look at our blog post over here. li. Let me think. Will it work over here? Style. I don't think it's going to do the thing that I want it to do. I want to be here. UL, LI, nth child. Let's not do that. Instead, let's try style. I'm going to copy my alternating row code over here. I'm going to save this. That also didn't do anything for me. That's okay. Let's cheat. We're gonna cheat. Cheat. Copy. And highlight that. Comment all of that out. And all posts dot map post. Come over here. So much of IRL programming is cheating, and so much of just coding every day is also cheating horribly. Oh, what did that just do? I want to pop that in. No, pop this in here, and we're going to tab in, paste all that stuff, fix our indents, and URL title description. None of that stuff's going to work here until we say post dot copy, paste, paste. I know what I'm doing wrong there. Give me a second, I'll fix it. Paste. I need to add post.frontmatter.title, and that resolves that object reference. Paste that here. Paste it here. Save all that. We still don't have our alternating stuff. So I'm going to come back over to global. I totally goofed up that tag. Control X. I think we got it. Fantastic. Now, I don't want to use that dark purple because that's invisible. And we are going to go with F9, F9, F9. A super light gray. That's way too light gray. Let's go F0, F0, F0. It's a little better. Yeah, I want it a little darker. That's what I'm looking for. And I saw that our things came back. So here's what we did. We defined the class article lists and applied it to UL. So this is only going to affect unordered lists that are decorated with the class article list, just like we have over here. And then we said for unordered lists that are decorated with the class article list, for the odd numbered list items, we want to shift the background color to DDD. I want to try and get rid of this hard-coded cheat that I put in place. So I'm going to highlight this, comment that out just in case we have to bring it back. Come up here, grab what we used to have, uncomment that, make sure it's all still good. Now we'll save. I want to make sure this is still applying. So I'm going to make it really, really ugly. Beautiful. Thing of beauty. There we go. Now, I think I want to fix things up just a little bit more. So UL dot article list, and I want this to apply to all of the list items that live inside an article list. And I want to increase the padding all the way around. No, just on the sides. No, all the way around, but I want it a little different. So we'll go 0.25 EM, and I keep intending to look up what EM and REM mean, and I keep forgetting. There we go. We've got a little bit more visual spacing around it. And the way these box type styles work is if you're using two parameters, the first one applies to the top and bottom. Just to show you in a blatant visual representation. There we go. We've really made the padding on the top and bottom of those articles fat. But I don't want them that fat. I want them actually pretty tight, but not, yeah, 1.2. 0.1 is too small. Let's go for 1/4 of an EM. And then we'll use half an EM on the sides. Now, EM is one thing. I think that's an absolute type thing. REM is relative. And you know what? I've said that I want to look up what that typography thing means, and I keep forgetting. So let's go ask Copilot. In CSS and typography, I keep seeing EM and REM when I'm specifying sizes of elements or classes in styles. Can you briefly explain what those terms mean? And let's see what Copilot says for me. Emphasis unit. Aha! And then root EM. Well, yeah, it's given me a whole lot of yapping and so on and so forth. But let's just very quickly summarize this. Represents the font size relative to its parent element's font size. An element has a font size of 1.5 EM. It means that it's 1.5 times the font size of its parent. Okay. And then it gives us a little sample. It's useful for creating scalable designs, especially when you want elements to inherit from their containers. So if we have a div and we set the font size for everything inside that div to 20 pixels tall, and in there we have a paragraph with a font size of 1.5 EM, it's going to be 30 pixels tall. The width will be twice as wide. So that's kind of neat. And then the root EM it runs the same kind of math, but against the font size that's been defined for the entire page, typically on the HTML element. It's typically 16 pixels, so 1 rem equals 16, and this gives us consistent scaling across our site. Good to know. Thank you, Copilot. All right, so that means we've got our alternating backgrounds. We've got we've gotten rid of those little dots on the list. And I should probably find another list somewhere in the website to make sure I haven't corrupted everything. I believe my menu is a list, and we're still good there. Yep, we're good. Now, let's go back to GitHub real quick and see what else I wanted to do here. So, we got rid of the bullet glyph on the component. Great. We want to make the title link a little bigger, but not much. I think I have a better idea of how to do that now. We want to add the publication date to the title. And we want to sort the list of articles by publication date, reverse chronology order. That's going to require some JavaScript. Like I said at the start, I fear JavaScript because I'm bad at it. That might get left off. Add some tags, maybe at the bottom of the blog post component for visual separation. Look into alternating item background colors on this page. I think instead of the HRs to break things up, I think what I'm going to do is for all article list items, we just did some padding, right? Let's add a border. And we want to go solid darker gray than the background there, but not by much. So we'll go with BBB, and we can adjust that if we want. And let's go, I think 1px is fine. Save that. Okay, cool. We've got some bordering. I want to add margin. Top is going to be 0.1 EM. Left and right. So with these, it goes top, right, bottom, left when we're doing a 4. So I think 0.125 EM for top and bottom. I don't want any margin on the sides here because we're already compressed and we've just added a little bit of visual space there. So that's great. Now I'm not a big fan of hard right corners like that. So let's round our border up. Border radius. And let's go with 0.5 EM there. I like it. Let's see how this looks. At full screen size. That's a whole lot more inviting. I think, though, I want to increase that spacing just a hair. So where are we? Article list LI, margin. Let's go to 0.25. Yeah. Much, much better. Much better. And yes, 9 and 12 and TV's Travis, I've started looking for background music that won't get me beat up by DMCA laws and have people or have Twitch and YouTube shut my voice off. And that's being a journey. I'll do more research later today or over the weekend or something like that. But I absolutely agree. It'd be nice to have a little something in the background so that it gives people's ears something to grab onto when I'm scratching my head and saying ah, ha, and making, Witcher noises. Real quick, let's take a look at how this is going to look on a mobile device. So we'll go into responsive design mode. Let's pop open. I've been using iPhone 15. Let's use one with a smaller screen. Let's see what it gives us. Oh, it's going to give us both. Neat. And then while these are loading, I'm going to exit responsive mode. There's that. And let's bring the simulators up front. So our iPhone SE simulator, that's going to take a minute to load. This is booting up. Come on. You can do it. How do you log into these things? We'll find out in a minute. I think we have to wait for this simulator to load. But let's go back, and while these guys are loading, I'll just pull them over here to my other screen. Floop. You got to use the sound effects or it doesn't work right. And article page adjustments. We've got this over here. We are not going to get the articles sorted during this mini sprint. Those are that's getting deferred to eventually. Bullets are gone. Still need to make the title link a little bigger. We're going to do that in a second because we're about 15 minutes away from the stated end of my stream. I'm going to close the iPhone 15 emulator and see if that frees up memory on my poor little MacBook so that things are starting to feel a little sticky. Bullets are gone. Got alternating background set. While the SE is booting, let's try and get... Well, first let's fix up this this header. And to do that, we're going to pop over here. And we want this to apply to everything inside our article list item thingy. So UL article list dot article list. We want it to apply to all links that live inside this article list component. Okay, the iPhone SE has booted up. I'll pull that over here in a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to go font dash size. Let's use our EM trick. 1.5 EM. Let's make them bold. Font weight is bold. Save. Did it do anything for me? It did not. Article list. LI. Nope. That didn't do anything for me either. A dot a little bigger. Let's try this. This is a silly way of doing it, but it'll work. Class equals a little bigger. All right, that worked. And I think 1.5 is overkill. So let's take it down to 1.25. So it's only 1 1/4 bigger. Okay. That's a little better. I like that. Let's take a look at what our mobile experience looks like. And so our margin is doing something a little funny over here. Where was I setting margin? Right here. I'm going to comment this out and see if things boop back over to the left, because I don't want it on the mobile. It looks like it's shoved off to the right, and I don't love that. So let's save this. It doesn't appear to have done what I want it to do. Okay. So the list items are still indented. I see what's going on. Is there a list style indent? So here's where I learned about that. CSS outline properties, we're not worried about that. Does this have IntelliSense? Not lint. List indent. There's no IntelliSense over here. I do have a little bit of AI help over here. I'm going to bring the margin back. Get rid of that. Article list. List. Indent. Nope. List. Okay. So there's no properties that apply to the unordered list. Let's see if we can find one that applies to is there an indent? Doesn't appear to be. So let's ask Copilot once again. Oh, what are you doing? Stop. All right. I have the list I'm styling almost the way I like it, but I don't want the items to be indented. How do I override that behavior? If you want to remove the indentation within a specific list, target the UL, margin 0, padding 0. Okay. All right, so in here in our UL article list, we've set the general margin, but let's be explicit for the left margin and see if that bumps us out. Let's load our simulator too. So if this works, these gray our items should bop over to the left edge, and they should bop over so that they're flush with the corner of the A in articles. And let's see if that's going to work for us. I give it a 50-50. Nope, that did not work for us. That's okay. What if we move it up to this? Padding left, 0. That's it. It wasn't margin, it was padding. Let's comment this to see if we can actually remove it. And we can. And we're going to remove that style directive right now, because as we're doing trial and error styling with CSS, when we finally find something that works, it's always a good idea for us to remove the things that we added and didn't give us the effect. And that helps us keep our CSS clean and easier to work with, because all of these styles, they add to each other and they override each other sometimes, and it can become a real mess when the browser finally collects all of the style directives that apply to a specific element. And if we've got a part of our display that just ain't looking right, and we know it's in the styling, if our CSS is messy, it makes it exceptionally difficult to troubleshoot and adjust things. And that applies all the way up the stack. Like at some point, I'm going to want to go through here and just very carefully and very methodically make sure I don't have any attributes set at a wider scope than they should be set. And that's going to really make a lot of things easier when I get into solving more difficult CSS problems and so on. This concept doesn't only apply to CSS. This concept also applies when we're dealing with object-oriented programming, where if you've got a base class and then you've got a whole set of descendants that inherit attributes from the classes further up the inheritance chain, the more stuff you put in your root class, the more likely you're going to run into those traits interfering with things that you're trying to do specifically in your child classes. So it's something to keep in mind when you're doing object-oriented development, service-oriented development, etc., etc. So we've got this booped out the way we want to. We've only got a couple of minutes left in this morning's stream. And real quick, let's try something. Real quick. I don't know if I have time to do this. Blog post takes in title, URL, description. Let's add pub date. I'm going to have to go find all of the places that I reference blog post and add this. No, I'm not. I'll do this. Pub date is not undefined. So if pub date is actually passed in, now this may not work. It may crash if I try to invoke a blog post tag without that pub date. But I'm just going to do a span. We'll say published on pub date. And that's going to give us a big, ugly, a really big, ugly date string. But I have the fix for that right here. We only want the first 10 characters of that pub date to go in. Pub date dot toString dot slice. Let's add a null coalescing operator. Let's make sure that's a null coalescing operator. Come out to here. We've only got a minute left. I'm going to go over the hour in the following JavaScript expression. What does the question mark do? In C# and .NET, we use that as a null coalescing operator. And yes, it's a nullish coalescing operator. So the question mark says if it's null. So if pub date is null or undefined, the entire expression evaluates to undefined. Otherwise, it calls the toString. And that, my friends, is a clue. I wonder. Nope, we can't do that. Can we prepend? Nope, we can't do that. But let's save and see if we crashed our website. does not appear that we have crashed our website. Let's change the article TOC. We've got all posts. URL equals post.url. Title equals that. Description equals that. I really want to tidy this up so that it's more readable. Let's do that. So yes, I'm silly. I get really uptight about formatting and stuff like that, like making sure my code is formatted in a tidy way, because it really just makes things easier to read. And we can get rid of these commented lines while we're at it. Save. All right, so that's tidier. Now let's bring in pub date equals, we don't need a string. We're doing interpolation here. Post dot front matter dot pub date you know what? We always want to pass, we always want to pass pub date in this context as a string. Let's come over to blog post. We'll get rid of this. I copied it, or I cut it. Now I'm going to paste it, and we'll get rid of the extra thing there. So here, what we're doing is if pub date exists, we're going to turn it into a string and pass the first 10 characters. Let's see what that did for us. Oh, me likey. I like that a lot. And we can get rid of the published on. Let's pop back into blog post. We'll do that. We'll do this. Style equals font style italic. Let's come over here. I like it. I like that a lot. I think we've got some much healthier components now. Much healthier components. Okay. It's 11:04 and it's time for me to go do some real life things. I should apply for some jobs and get this archived and post it over to LinkedIn and Facebook and all those places that I do that. Let's really quickly take a look and make sure our mobile experience still looks good. All right. We're getting there, guys. Let's come in here and see real quick. Because I know we're using the blog post component elsewhere. Let's click here and see. All right. I'm going to need to come into the tag page and make sure that I'm passing all of this stuff to make sure I'm decorating these unordered lists and passing all of the properties that I need in that tag page. I'm going to do that offline. Come down here, hit topics, detailed design. Yeah, same thing. Okay, I'm going to do that between this morning and this